Welcome back, Trekkies and Trekkers. It is time for another episode of Treknicity. That's right, that show that talks about Star Trek has come and gone over the last couple of years, but is back and back with a vengeance. I am very excited. My name is Lars Di Scenza.
And my name is Brandon Leyva. Thanks for
And
having me, Lars.
hey, no problem. Thank you for joining me. Brandon is my new co host for this show, and we are looking forward to spending time with you each week as we discuss our favorite subjects in Star Trek. This episode is, of course, very special to us because today was the premiere of Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 1, The Stargazer. And seeing as we both raced home after work, watched it, and everything is pretty fresh in our minds, we should actually sound like we know a little bit about what we're watching. Of course, it happens. I'm sure we'll flub or we'll fluster or whatever, but still, that's what we're here to do. We're just here to share with you our thoughts and our love of all things Star Trek. So again, thanks, Brandon, for coming on board with us.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and so let's just get right to the rat killing. Let's talk about this episode. What are your general feelings over how it played out overall?
Overall, definite improvement from the first season. Like, this first episode it definitely grabbed my attention, especially in the beginning when that space ripped apart and you see it like ripping and with the green, like the tendrils and stuff. Like, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I should actually.
I got excited.
And so did I. I guess I should qualify this episode and warn everybody now before we start talking a little bit deeper. This is going to be spoilerific. We are going to talk spoilers all up and down. If you don't want to know it and you haven't watched it yet, then stop right now and go do something else because we are going to spoiler the shit out of this thing. I feel the same way. For me, I was really excited, of course, when season 1 came out. When they announced it and it came out, I was like, oh wow, we're going to get Sir Pat back as Picard. We're going to see what the next step in his evolution is. And then somebody grabbed hold of the stick and rammed the plane into the ground. And I'm not going to lie, I completely rage quit my subscription to what was then called CBS All Access at the end of that episode because I just could not tolerate it. I just had nothing. I had nothing in the tank left after that. Even after some of the great cameos. I mean, when Brent Spiner came back, played Data. Of course, Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis came back. And did a couple of episodes as Riker and Troy. And we had, Seven of Nine. Jerry Ryan come back as 7 of 9, and it was cool. Those little bits and pieces were cool, but I just felt like they really, really kind of shoehorned the entire story over that arc of season 1. However,
yeah, I agree.
However, tonight. Season 2, episode 1, a lot better. I just feel like I could connect to the character of Picard again. Yeah. He was human again, even though he's not anymore. He's a robot. But still, he's a
golem.
Yeah, he's a golem.
But yeah, I agree. It felt more Star Trek-y.
It did. Even with the directions that they took with the other characters, like Rafi and Laris didn't really change that much. Agnes, sort of charged. Soji, of course, big on the whole advocating for synthetics, which is pretty cool. Chris Rios, seeing Rafi and Chris Rios return to Starfleet was really cool, and then seeing Elnor become the first full Romulan cadet at Starfleet Academy. And for those who are watching, yes, this is my Romulan Star Empire shirt. It is one of my prized possessions because I'm a huge lover of all things Romulan on Star Trek.
Boo. Boo.
Boo! You suck! Go back to Romulus! Oh, wait. Shit.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's gone.
It's gone.
Thanks,
Yeah.
JJ.
Thanks a lot. How could you? Um,
But yeah, no, from the very beginning, like right when it first starts, you get that red alert, and it was like, oh my god, I remember that from TNG, like that specific red alert sign.
yep. And it
And
was
then you
like,
see them in their outfits, their original, like, or the closer to TNG outfits.
oh, absolutely. And it was definitely the whole thing is that we had this great callback to what I loved from TNG, the movies, even DS9 Voyager, all that sort of stuff. The original stuff, the Prime Universe stuff that we have known, come to know and love over the last 50 plus years that Star Trek's been around. Now, I mean, I know that you haven't been all that acquainted with the original series, and trust me, we'll remedy that. But let's talk about kind of things start out. We see Picard. He's back at the chateau. We see
Chateau
him tending
Picard.
to his vineyard. He's there after sort of in the evening. He's having a glass of wine with Laris. You know, they're talking about lost love and all that. And then next thing Picard tries to put moves on my would-be Romulan girlfriend.
Or more like she tried to put the moves on him, and he put the brakes on it.
Well, yeah, it was kind of like, wait a minute, the funny thing is that it would be perfect if they'd had like a record scratch moment.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone will cut that on TikTok or something.
that's right. So, we see the aftermath. We see the consequences of what's happened after everybody's kind of the dust has settled. The end of the ban on synthetics has happened, and shit's kind of moving forward. So and I'll go back and forth a little bit about how I feel about season 1 and season 2, and I'm not going to bag too much on season 1. I didn't like it overall,
Yeah.
but it did have some cool elements. I just feel like they kind of, again, they shoehorned a lot of stuff. Like you gotta love this. You have to. It's got the Borg and it's got Romulans. You gotta love it. Like, no, I don't. But okay, if you say so, man.
Yeah, I feel like they're making up for season 1. They probably realized, we made some mistakes, and now we're gonna get into the fun stuff.
Exactly. We're getting back. Well, that's one thing that we've seen a lot with the new series, like even Prodigy. Even though Prodigy is aimed at children, that sense of wonder and excitement of Star Trek is back.
Yeah,
And then
that's fun.
and then we've got here in a short couple of months, we've got the premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where they talk about, or they explore the missions of Captain Pike's Enterprise, which of course Anson Mount, and Ethan Peck and Rebecca Romaine are returning to reprise their roles in Strange New Worlds, which is cool. So overall, the whole wonderful meatiness of Star Trek, that wagon train to the stars feel that Gene Roddenberry set out to share with us all those years ago, it feels like it's back. And now I've been very vocal about my dislike of the reboot movies, the Kelvin timeline movies. But I've been listening to, since I picked up this podcast again, the idea of doing this again, I have gone through and tried to foster relationships with other Star Trek podcasts. And the one thing that really got me going, that really stoked the fires to do this show again, was listening to the Starship Tempest podcast. The live play, the actual play podcast where they play Star Trek Adventures, and just listening to that got me way back into everything I loved about it. Every piece of spirit and soul that was invested in Star Trek just came flooding back. So I've tried to foster relationships. We've, I know it's like I know we're just spinning back up. The number of followers on Instagram is still kind of low, but it has grown way faster than I anticipated.
That's what Star Trek's big. Star Trek's coming back.
It is.
People love it.
Even to the point
Just
where
shows.
I'm not even upset or worried about the now announced fourth Kelvin timeline movie where they return with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and
I didn't even hear
and
about
Simon
that.
Pegg, and Zoe Saldana, yada yada yada, all that. I'm not even. I'm not, It's like it's not even burning me up.
I'm not even mad, bro.
Yeah, come at me, bro. Do you even film? And yeah, so, but sort of back to this whole thing of getting back into doing the podcast, I've been listening to other shows. Another one that I started listening to recently was Twin City Trekkies. And, one thing that has become apparent that I lost sight of is that Star Trek is all encompassing. It's for everybody who wants to be a part of it. You don't have to be a fan of any particular series. You don't have to be a fan of any particular movies. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you love Star Trek. And if that's your thing, whatever your thing is with it, have at it. Enjoy. Because we're all in this together. And it really has invigorated my spirit. So going back, I am, listening to the podcasts, talking to other people, following other creators on Instagram and social media in general, has really given me a new lease on life. And then I meet you, and suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, there's actually somebody I can talk to about Star Trek and not feel like somebody's gonna call out in the background, nerd.
Yeah, no, same here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Star Trek. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like you gotta be a hardcore nerd to really like Star Trek, but not these days. It
No.
really doesn't. Especially like you said, with all these new shows that Paramount's doing and Prodigy. Like, my son's really into Star Trek now because of Prodigy. Like, he loves the show.
Yeah, it's incredible. And of course, the we have Lower Decks, which is of course Star Trek's tongue-in-cheek love affair with the franchise. So, and speaking of love affair, getting back to the topic at hand,
Back to the episode.
I do feel like this is a huge love letter. They're finally getting back to saying, hey guys, we get it, we heard you, we understand, and we want to give you entertaining stories about characters that you love. One thing that has really been tough for me is that I felt like the people who had taken over were kind of ramming things down your throat. Like, you see these characters, you love them. Like, I don't know them well enough to love them. You love them. No, I just give me some time. I'll let me get invested. No, episode 1, all the characters, you love them, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. So we go back and we see that Picard has been. He goes off to Starfleet Academy to give the commencement speech. And we see that Elnor again is announced as the first full-blooded Romulan cadet.
Seems a little weird that he's the first.
Yeah,
I mean, been any others?
Like, seriously.
Now?
Well, and given the history that Earth has had with the Romulans, it's kind of understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but you see him. You see Rafi is there. She's back. She actually, we find out later in the episode that she's captain now of the new Excelsior, which of course,
right.
I'm like, oh man, come on, my heart's a little pitter patter, I'm thinking, because I loved it. I absolutely loved it when George Takei was, when Sulu was given the captaincy of the Excelsior, because I love I love all the characters in the original series. You know, I love them all, but Sulu was my
Yeah,
favorite to get promoted to captain
yeah,
because he just knew he was ripe for it.
yeah. And plus, probably Captain Kirk or William Shatner was like, well, I don't want to be next to him, so let's put him somewhere else. So let's make him the captain of a ship where
Yeah,
I don't have to interact with him much.
yeah, that was to be honest with you,
That's what it felt like.
in the back and sort of in behind the scenes and stuff. Um, Shatner didn't really get along with much
Oh
of
yeah,
anybody on the
their
original
feud.
series. In
Yeah,
fact, Twin City Trekkies was talking about that in their. I want to say that was in their first anniversary episode I was listening to recently, and it's true. I mean, they reconciled
yeah,
later on. You know,
yeah. But their feuds, they got into feuds recently again. Like they have legendary feuds.
yeah, they do. Yeah, definitely.
Those two. But it's great. And
Uh,
did you catch when Raffi was going to the Excelsior, and same with Alon? Um, that they were naming all the cadets like heading to their ship.
yeah,
Did you hear one of them was a Sulu?
I did not hear that.
Yeah,
I
there was.
guess I
I
missed that
can't
part. That's
remember what they said, but they said like a name, and then at the end it said, and the last name was Sulu.
great. Well, I mean, it's a nice little
So
nod.
yeah,
Um, well, yeah. So that they take off. You know, Elnor and Rafi take off to the Excelsior. Picard decides, you know, well, I'm going to bugger off home, and goes back to France. And that night, we see that he is visited by a Starfleet admiral. Okay. Um, now, kind of to back things up a little bit, during this whole setup, the Stargazer, USS Stargazer, the new or the current one, which is captained by Chris Rios, who
yeah, he's a
um,
badass.
yeah, and, you know, the thing is, I didn't like his character when he was first introduced, but now I
Yeah,
really like him, especially seeing, like, I mean, he had serious cojones
yeah,
when he
yeah,
was dealing with in this episode, and we'll talk more about that
yeah.
here
I
going
feel like
forward.
the very first season, it was more like you're gonna like this dude. He's like Boba Fett and Indiana Jones all in one. It's like,
Like, I don't know about
but
this man, but now
yeah,
definitely,
nah,
hey,
he's yeah. I like him more in the captain's chair and piloting a real uh, starship.
yeah. And based on its design, I'm guessing that is an upgraded Constellation class starship, much like the original Stargazer from Next Generation, Picard's first command ship, which was the we saw in the first season where he deals with a Ferengi out for revenge and rah. But still,
Mm.
based on the overall design, I'm guessing that's going to that is a an updated Constellation class ship. So we see that Rios is the captain of this ship. They come across this big tear in space. Um, basically, Agnes and Soji are down on this planet. They're kind of doing the diplomatic thing. Rios calls Agnes and says, "Hey, I got something. Can you come up?" They beam her up to the ship. She sits there and sees this transmission that's coming from this whole rip in space, and she kind of figures it all out that it's not just one transmission that's garbled; it's multiple transmissions layered on top of each other, and they're all saying the same thing: "Help us, Picard." So of course, there's the hook, and
Yep.
um,
Yeah, from right there, I'm like, oh, this is where the mystery begins. Like, who is it? What is it?
the game is afoot, so to
I need
speak.
to know.
Yeah. So of course, then we go back to the admiral shows up at Chateau Picard. They're sitting there talking. She's like, "Hey, we need your help." He's like, "Whoa, hang on, I'm retired." And she plays the message, and he hears,
Get him
"Help us,
to.
Picard."
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, shit, if that's the case, I'm in now." so he does that,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean,
Yep.
he's like, "Okay, I guess I'm in." So
And then
he
we
takes
see.
off. and
Takes
Laris
off with
comes in.
Laris. Yeah,
Yeah,
Laris
Laris comes in
in the
like,
wind.
like Picard.
Like literally, the wind from the shuttle is like blowing dust in her eyes. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
like
Picard.
peace out. I'm gone.
Yeah,
Like he didn't even say
not,
goodbye. Like
not even a goodbye. Yeah,
not even a note that says, "Hey, had to go to Starfleet.
yeah,
We'll be back." He's just like, screw it. It was awkward. We got this awkwardness. We took
yeah.
we took the train to A Town. Let's screw it. I'm just gonna bugger off, and so he does that, and of course, we see him arrive on the Stargazer. Everybody does all the pomp and circumstance because Admiral Picard is here.
You skipped over a pretty important part when we got to see 7 of 9
Oh
kick the
yes,
crap out of a bunch of people.
that's right, because it's revealed that 7 of 9 has returned to the Fenris Rangers.
Yeah,
And she's got Rios' old ship,
old ship.
and
And the holograms or at least one of them is still on the ship.
yeah.
Spanish-speaking hologram.
I read somewhere beforehand that, and it was kind of a spoiler a little bit, but kind of a light spoiler. The whole thing is that he handed over the ship to 7 of 9, said, "Hey, take care of her," and I guess she did. They had this whole argument about, "Oh, I told you to take care of her. Oh, I'd use it to do good." Blah blah blah. All right, whatever. Have fun. But yeah, she does kind of kick some ass, and the fact that she's arguing with the hologram because she can't turn off his therapeutic modes, and
he's like, "I'm not going to tell you how."
Yep. Like I want to know how to do it. Nah, not telling you.
Yeah. I like how he's speaking Spanish. That's pretty cool too. It's just, I don't know. I liked it.
Well, yeah, and it's at least they I mean, like I understand some very basic Spanish, so most of it was lost on me. So they had the subtitles to go with it, but still, you really enjoyed the scene. You enjoyed the interaction between the characters. 7 of 9 didn't feel like she was broken or damaged. She felt like she was fully in charge of what she was doing.
She knows what she's doing and knows what she wants.
That's right. I mean,
you better get out of her way.
I'm sure she was probably hauling a cargo of clipboards because she was kicking ass and taking names. so we go back from there to this whole thing is happening on the Stargazer. I want to go back and I mean I think there's another part I'm missing because there's the part where he goes back to Earth. He goes to Los Angeles. How I just made this whole grandstand thing about saying everything was fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like less than 2 hours later. I'm like,
and we both are like, he went to Los Angeles? What are you talking about?
Like, wait a minute, what's he doing in LA? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So he goes
there to go get sloshed.
That's right. He goes to have a drink. So we all knew that Whoopi Goldberg would be reprising her role as Guinan in this season 2. They announced it like way back in the middle of season 1.
They're like, don't worry, it's gonna be great. We got Guinan back.
Yeah. So we asked her and she said, yeah, she'll come back. All right, cool. Well, so he goes to this place. He goes to this bar. Of course, the name of the bar is 10. I was like, all right,
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, it has to be,
Yeah.
But the funny thing, and this is meant completely as a compliment, but man, does Whoopi Goldberg look good?
Yeah, she does, and that's one of the things that kind of I did not like, where she had to explain why she looked a little older. She's like, oh, well, my race also, I can age myself if I want to, just so you guys don't have to deal with morality. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You did not have to throw that in to make, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be accounted for. People are going to complain she's older. What's going on? She's not supposed to. It's like, you don't need to address every little issue.
You're right. Not everything has to be explained.
Yeah.
We understand. People get older.
People get older. You didn't need to throw in that line okay, so her race can just age themselves. That seems like a pretty useless evolutionary trait.
Yeah. Well, and that's again, it's one of those things where like, oh, I
Yeah.
guess we should say something because people wonder, how does a
Yeah.
timeless, how does an ageless character suddenly look older again?
Yeah.
And I'm like, who cares?
And see, and then later on they do it. I'm not gonna say anything, but obviously that same thing happens later on, but they did it much better.
Yes, yes, I did. My thing is that, and I said this when we were doing show prep, is Whoopi Goldberg, like Guinan sounds like a New York Teamster. Welcome to
Yeah.
10 Forward. What you want to drink? Like,
Yeah.
like I mean, she's got obviously because she's a little older. Her voice is a little
Yeah.
gruffer and whatnot. I'm not making fun of it. It's not like a joke. It's just
Yeah.
it was so funny because I was like, I could always
Well,
imagine like
it
the
was like she
Teamster
was
guy.
trying to be more gruff.
Right,
like,
right,
like to the
exactly.
point.
Yeah. Hey, Picard, how you doing? What do
Yeah.
you want? You want some wine or you want the good stuff? You want the hooch?
The hooch.
Yeah. He's like, I'll have the hooch. And here you go, some sorry and brandy.
Yeah.
Let's have a drink here, fella. I'm like, all right, dude, but that's cool. Whatever, man. Whatever
Should've
flips your
been
dinger, you're good.
Should have been the Romulan ale.
Yeah,
I'm sure
of course.
it's not
But,
banned by now.
but it's cliched, man. The
I
Romulan
know.
ale is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cliched. Um,
Yep.
if anybody ever pulls out Romulan ale, I think the instant response or reaction should be officer thinking. Yeah, going back to Star Trek 6.
Well, then maybe I shouldn't tell you that at my last D&D party, I actually made Romulan ale.
Oh my. Well, okay, so I guess I'm gonna be having some more D&D parties then. Excellent. But yeah, I mean it's there's some parts of it you're like, why did you have to say that? Because you didn't really need to. But again,
But overall,
it was a short scene. We got her back. We got her back into the fold. All right, cool. They talk about mortality. They talk about, love, and she asks Picard, what drove you out into the stars and all that stuff. And I want to go back just for a second. I know there's a bit we glossed over, like the like it opens up with a scene with a young Picard running around the chateau with his mother, and him and some bad flashbacks. The name of this episode is Let's See What's Out There. So that goes back to one of the last lines, if not the last line of Encounter at Farpoint, which was the first episode of Next Generation. And you know what? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm Trek-splaining. Like now look here. We got this guy named Picard. He was on this show called Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now that's not to be confused with Star Trek: The Original Series, which had Kirk and Spock and McCoy. It's like no. I'm not trying to do that. But I just want to kind of call. It's a nice callback because then we kind of learned that. One thing he's saying is that when he was a young boy, when things would be rough, and he'd be having a bad time, his mother would always tell him, look at the stars and see what's out there, and even to the point where, like, she even says, like when you're crying, imagine your voice being out there in space, being so small that you can't even hear it. So you can't really hear your cries, and it's that which kind of deflates it a little bit and kind of it minimalizes the whole thing of of the crying process of being in despair. And of course, we've seen Picard tortured on many occasions, sometimes to the point where I'm like, man, you guys just really like screwing with him. But yeah, so we see these flashbacks, and I mean, of course, I don't know really what to make of it yet because we just watched the first episode. But we see like these flashes of like where his mother is being like dragged away by something, and there being some sort of incident going on. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? They did a really good way to kind of fold some of Sir Patrick Stewart's actual life into it, because those who may not know, he grew up in a home where his father physically abused his mother, and he's been a big proponent for advocating against domestic violence. So
that's probably why they added it. Then.
yeah, so putting that in there was a nice little touch, because it really highlights something very, very personal, not just to the character, but to the actor who portrays him.
Yeah.
So, and again, I mean, that's just whoever sat down and went through the first season and said, "Look, guys, we gotta do better." They definitely did better.
For sure.
So, kind of folding back on in things, we, basically, Picard's like, "Hey, I'm all right. I'll go check it out." He gets there and says, "Hey, it's me. I'm here," and then nothing's like, radio silence. Like, "Hello, is this thing on?" "Hello." He's like, "Hi, it's me, Picard." And then suddenly we just hear this cacophony of voices, and immediately you know that it's the Borg. Yeah. I said I could close my eyes, man. I know there's a Borg ship coming or something. Yep. And it's exactly what happens. A Borg ship comes in. And
a new Borg ship.
Yeah, something we've never seen before.
Yeah. Looks a little crazy.
And so of course they're like, "Hey, so they're talking back and forth. They're like, "Hey, we want to establish peace." And Picard's like, "Maybe we should do that." And everybody else is like, "Are you crazy?"
I know.
Like, are you nuts?
Rios is running around doing some 7 and 9's like, "Shoot him! Shoot him!"
Just don't think about it. Kill him. Kill them all.
Standing there in the corner like, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do."
So yeah, and of course they're like, "Well, hey, shields up, red alert. No, I ain't letting this shit go down." And they do that, and of course this whole thing where Rios like, "All right, dude, that's it. We're going. We're not gonna let anybody screw with us." So they put their shields up, and of course the Borg ship does their thing and overpowers them and manages to transport something, which is, we're guessing, might be some version of the Borg Queen. Because she takes over the ship, then starts taking over the fleet, and then
basically used the ship as a router to connect.
Yeah, it's like that was Agnes's line. She's using the ship like a hub for the entire fleet.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
I would have been like can you imagine the IT guy on the ship like he's what? Well, why don't you just unplug it? Somebody go pull the Ethernet cables out or turn the Wi-Fi router signal off and call it a day.
Yeah.
But no.
Turn off the subspace signals.
Yeah. Turn the radio off, man. Somebody literally pull the plug on the router. And but no, of course. So of course, shit gets serious, and they say, they're like, do something about it. So Picard pulls his, well, I just gonna blow up the ship, and he does it. He blows up the ship because we see it. Yeah. We see from a distance, the fleet is out there, and boom, ship go boom.
But before that, it's still interesting because she wasn't killing anybody; she was just stunning them.
Yeah.
So something's gonna come up with that where we're gonna have to get along. They're gonna have to get along with her, or
I was just thinking about that.
I don't know. The slow burn takeover.
They did this whole thing like at the end of the episode they showed a little preview of what was coming for the season.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if it's going to be like a buddy comedy between Picard and the Borg Queen or something, where Picard learns that not everybody is going to be assimilated, and the Borg Queen learns how to be human again.
Yeah, when they showed that preview, I was kind of hoping it was going to be the original actress from First Contact.
Oh, Alice Craig.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks a lot like her, but it's obviously not her.
Yeah, and they kind of did that back in Voyager as well when they brought the Borg Queen in. They did this whole thing of they brought in an actress who looked a little bit like her, but not quite. I'm guessing maybe Alice Craig said, no es bueno. And yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, cool, but we see
But
the
then the
ship
good part
explode.
comes
Yes,
after this.
the best part of the entire episode
Yep.
lands in the last 2 minutes.
Yep.
Because ship goes boom, fade to black, come back up. We see Picard
Picard wakes up at
wakes up,
Chateau
no.
Picard.
And he's in this room. He's in this room that we've seen a few times in the episode, which is like like an arboretum, or not an arboretum. Sorry, like a greenhouse room. A sunroom. That's what I was looking for. Sunroom.
Yeah, sunroom. There you go.
And he wakes up. He's on the floor. I'm like, and he's probably thinking, "Man, what the hell did I do?" Sorry, and Brandy must have really hit me.
Seriously.
That hooch was really strong, yo.
Guy didn't give me.
Yeah, like Guinan, what did you do? Slip me a space Mickey? And so he gets up and he realizes right away, shit's not right, yo. He's walking through his house. He sees.
He's looking for Laris instead of Laris.
He finds a synthetic android. He finds. You see him go past this like katana that's on display. You see a painting of the Enterprise D, full phasers and torpedoes blasting. And then he comes across a picture of himself.
Younger.
Yeah, a younger picture of himself. Wearing a much different Starfleet uniform.
Yeah, much darker.
Now, I mean, since we've already spoiled the shit out of this thing, we can say that I've heard that a large portion of this is related to like the mirror universe. Yeah, so he's walking around, he's trying to figure shit out, and then so of course he hears a voice he hasn't heard for many years. And it's like, as soon as I heard that, I went,
Yep. And then he says the line, Mon Capitan.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, oh, it's Q. And of course, he's pissed.
I rewound that a few times. I wanted to hear that over and over.
Exactly. Yeah, seeing John Delancey come back as Q was just amazing. Yeah. And, it was like, okay, where are we going to go? But the point you made earlier is that they did the de-aging process on him.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
like he better. Looked. Yeah, he did. John Delancey looked just like he did when he was on, on TNG.
And it was awesome. He's like, "Oh, you've grown. You've gotten older than I thought. Let me catch up."
Yeah, and then he does the snap, and he's basically like he looks now, and how he looks in the artwork that's been released.
That's an awesome way to do it.
Yeah, and I agree. Awesome. I mean, it actually really is really good. So we get to the end of, this, like now we know stuff's happening. We know Q's involved. We know Picard's pissed about it. All right, where are we going? And then fade to black. I was like, damn you!
That got me excited. I'm much more excited from this show, this one episode, than any of the others in the last season.
Exactly.
Hopefully they don't let us down.
I feel the same way, because I remember going to see the reboot Star Trek movie in 2009 in the theater, and I remember going to the theater and sitting down there and like, oh yeah, we're good. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be like a nice fresh take on Star Trek. And then they had a scene where young Kirk steals a Corvette, and I'm like, oh yeah. And it's playing the Beastie Boys. I'm like, oh yeah. And then they do this other stuff. We're like, aww. Like, seriously, guys? Seriously, you steamrolled over everything I loved about Star Trek. So it was my first experience where, I was really, really disappointed by something I saw in Star Trek. And anybody who has watched the first episode of the extremely truncated third season of this show knows exactly how I feel about being disappointed by things in Star Trek that I love. I went on this rant against Alec Peters and what I felt like he did to the fandom, and to fan films, and what it caused for us trying to do, who had aspirations of doing fan films and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it was like, But so far,
But you
knock
got
on
to move
wood.
on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm definitely kind of loving more what I've seen. So far, everything
Yeah.
has turned out to be a lot better than I anticipated. Um,
I agree.
I've been very vocal about my displeasure of Discovery, um, and I stopped. I stopped midway through season 3 watching it completely. It's like I can't watch this anymore. But I thought, you know what? Season 4 is coming. I got invited to go to the virtual premiere for that. I thought,
Oh, nice.
better catch up, and be kind of
Yeah.
knowledgeable, because otherwise I'm gonna be caught out. So I watched it through to the end, and I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah. Third
not
season
what I
ended a
thought.
little strong.
Yeah, it ended on a strong note. Season 4 started on a pretty decent note. It held pretty consistent. It still
Yeah.
has some of that you will love this because it's Star Trek
Yeah.
feel to it. And I'll tell you one other thing. Um, One thing that has plagued me since the new series from Discovery onwards, at least the live action stuff, has been this this CBS drama feel to it. Like, I understand
Yeah.
CBS is
Like all the drama in the back with the producers and the writers and the all the creators.
well, and not just that, but if you watch any other show on any other CBS network, any other modern, like the you know any show they've got out there, it's a drama. It is a formulaic drama. It follows it has the same feel. It's almost like Lego minifigs, where you can just pop the heads off one and
Yeah.
into another and stuff.
Mix and match.
Yeah, and I thought this is not going to work, and of course that's what soured me greatly on Discovery, was that it just felt like they had just put a book cover over a blank CBS drama, but again, they're getting there. They're learning. They're finding their footing. The Discovery learned from its mistakes of trying to shoehorn this vastly different story into an established timeline that was in the Prime universe. It's not like it's not like where it's not like well, hey, this is all set in the Kelvin universe. I'm like, I don't like it, but what are you gonna do about it? I gotta accept it because that's what it is. This one is like, well, they're like, oh, let's just try to put it in there, see if we can fit it in there, and everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What the hell, man?
Why do you got to change it up so much?
Exactly. Why did you have to make these changes? They were unnecessary.
We gotta make it modern. We gotta get a new audience.
Yeah, actually, and that's another good another good thing. I could talk about Star Trek, and right now I could actually talk about it until I'm blue in the face.
Yep.
But another good point that Twin City Trekkies mentioned is that there was, when Enterprise came out, everybody was bagging on, like, this looks way more modern than the original series. Like, Kirk's ship didn't have all this stuff on there and all these screens and stuff. And it's like, well, what do you expect? Did you want just the random labelless
just some
switches,
big round buttons?
Yeah, like I mean, look, the original series was a huge game of make believe. They had to imagine what this shit did. Occasionally, you'd see a close up of a dial that had one of those plastic punch labels,
Yeah.
and it was like, what do you expect? But what was really cool about it is, and I thought this was awesome when I heard about it, is that they did their research. The people who did the production design for Enterprise did their research, and if you look at it, now that I know about it, I can see it. They designed the interior of the ship to look a lot like a modern day submarine. The cramped quarters, the very industrial feel, a lot of handrails. So it's like,
because that's what it would be in space. You wouldn't have a lot of room. You would need small ships. Like,
exactly,
it costs a ton of money to make a giant starship. So.
Exactly, and of course you had to expend an enormous amount of resources to make it safe.
Yep. Yeah.
So safety trumps style, and so when you look at and I think people said the same thing about Discovery, when they looked at the ship, they're like, oh, it's all these L cars, touch screen style things going on, and it's supposed to be before Kirk, and it's like,
Yeah.
again, you know,
Yeah.
let it
If Kirk, yeah,
go.
that's just it. It's like, would you rather have a show that had looked like the original, or would you rather one that looks more what we think the future would be like at this point? I'm sure, obviously, in 200 years, 300 years, we're gonna get all that wrong. Like, they won't have touchscreens like they do in the show right now. It'll probably all be in our mind by then,
Yeah,
like
probably.
projecting it from our eyeballs
Yeah,
onto
like
everything.
say another 50 years, let's say Star Trek's still around
Yeah.
and is a viable product, Can you imagine, like, oh my goodness, they had to touch things to make it work?
Yeah.
How childish is, like, it reminds me of that scene from Back to the Future Part 2 where
Oh yeah, he uses
yeah,
the
he's like,
guns.
"You had to use
The
your
little kid.
hands? That's a baby's toy." Like,
I'm still trying to figure out like how the hell he was supposed to play it then.
yeah, I don't know, but it's still,
That's
like,
so great. Yeah.
but again, you have this whole thing
Yeah.
about where the people are just like, you're never going to satisfy everybody. And I know
Yeah.
I have been
Yeah.
very vocal about not liking certain things, but um, again, on a very personal note, meeting another Star Trek nerd which we were not at Vasquez Rocks very long, but we got a couple of really good photos, and it was fun. It was
Yeah, for
just
sure.
being there was fun. That part, being able to talk openly and with excitement about what I love about Star Trek and all the things that I've done along the way, characters I've played in role playing games and 3D art that I made with such characters and stuff. Then on top of it, and I've said this to many people, uh, I was one day I was like I do photography work aside from doing IT work, and I decided, like, I had this moment, this epiphany right before Christmas last year. I just rage quit a bunch of stuff. I got off social media. I was like, all I'm doing is doom scrolling. I am Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it,
Yeah.
TikTok. I was like, all I'm doing is roll, 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 roll. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's making me miserable. I'm going to, I'm going to end up a very unhappy person.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what happened. I ended up a very unhappy person, and I thought, I got to get out of this. So I closed out of everything. I deleted an Imgur account that I had for, I want to say, pretty close to like 11 or 12 years,
Mm.
and that was a lot of stuff that I just basically tossed. I closed down my Facebook account, but then of course had to reopen it because I remembered that half the things I log into use my Facebook account. Um, and then
You're locked in.
I got rid of my
Zuckerberg's got you.
exactly. I got rid of my Instagram account, my Lars D the Photo Kiwi Instagram account, because it was just full of garbage. Wasn't
Yeah,
even
it's just too
dedicated to what
much.
I was doing with photography anymore. So I took a break, slowed down, rolled backwards, sat there for a good couple of weeks, and I thought, okay, I can't cut out social media completely because so much of life and what we do, especially with the Red Shirt Geeks, is tied to social media. So I thought, can I do this in a healthier way? Um, and so I started up an Instagram account with my new photography stuff, which was um, the photographer one. And I thought, okay, I'll use this for my photography stuff, and then I'll let some of my nerd stuff go back in there. And eventually, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can stay off of social media for large blocks of time and not feel the the DTs of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I go back, and then just completely by accident, I don't even know how. I don't know if it was just a result of something I searched for on Instagram or what, but I came across Starship Tempest. I was like, I'll check it out. And I think what got me was the fact is that I love role playing games. I've been a gamer since I was about 14 years old, and I've tried to play Star Trek role playing games. Most of my friends don't care about Star Trek at all. So anytime we've played, it's just been a farce, and not a good farce where everybody has a good laugh at what you do. It's all about let's see if we can take the piss out of it and let's piss Lars off, and that's kind of how it went. But when Modifius came out with the Star Trek Adventures role playing game, I was like, oh, I got to get this. I was one of the play testers, and I was like, I got to get the book. So I got the books and everything. And I was like, I got to run this, and then this work burned me out. I couldn't run it, so I just sat there forlorn, like, oh, I want to play this game so much, but I can't. Blah blah blah. Woe is me. And then I came across Starship Tempest, and I was like, oh, they're playing Star Trek Adventures. Let's give it a go. And I had over a year to catch up on what they had done, like their episodes. And I was like, from episode 1, I was hooked. I was like, oh yeah, these are my people. These guys get Trek in the way I get Trek.
Brought back your love of Star Trek.
Yeah, oh, it did. So yeah, that's where it started. And again, it's serendipitous. I found that, and then I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound so soppy, but I met you. I mean, yeah. I get to work with you every day, and then I get to talk Star Trek with you all the time. And I mean, awesome. Shit, dude, what more can I ask for?
Seriously, talking about Star Trek.
Yeah, and do you have your coin with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See, you shared your love of Trek by because you had this coin, this challenge coin made by this awesome dude. Was it on Etsy?
Yeah, he's on Etsy. Yeah, SAS Laser Works.
Nice.
Yeah, he makes challenge coin, and he did a custom one for me for size of a $50. This really cool Star Trek coin.
Yeah. So
it was actually a gift for my birthday for my wife. So thank you, cool, Stephanie. Yeah.
And like there's a I mean, I'm not like this whole thing of like everything's determined, it's fate and all that stuff, but one thing is like there was that shirt you're wearing right now.
Thank you for this too.
I bought that shirt on a whim. And I thought, I'll just wear it. It should be good. And I just realized it just wasn't the right size. It kind of fit, but it didn't. And I also bought one of the red engineering shirts as well, which if anybody wants to look at the horrible picture of me in it, it's on our Instagram page at Treknicity.
It's not that bad.
But I was like, I held on. Like I was gonna get rid of it. I'll get rid of these a long time ago. There's a reason I held on to it. And now I'm looking at him wearing it, and I think that's perfect. I think it's just, again, that embodies everything I love about this, what this means to me. So I know I've waffled on a lot. I know I've talked a lot, and I know I've kind of monopolized the time here in this episode. But
that's okay. It's the first episode of the new season. You gotta
exactly
explain why you love it so much.
And we'll as we go forward, we will cover not more than just Picard. There's still a few episodes of Discovery left for season 4.
Yeah.
And then of course
I was gonna say, and I need to watch the original series. I've only seen a few episodes.
Exactly.
It's the one Star Trek series I've never watched all the way through.
And I'm not. I mean, initially I was surprised when you told me, but now I'm not surprised, especially hearing more people who just never were exposed to it.
Yeah. It was all TNG when I was a kid. That was it.
TNG came out when I was 13 years old. And I missed.
What year did it come out?
1987 is when it started.
Oh yeah, 80. Yeah, so I was 9. I was 9.
And I remember that it was. I missed the entire, like almost the entire first season, because I was a freshman in high school, and I was stupid. Yeah, I just didn't care about Star Trek at that point.
I
Not to
don't
the
think
point where I
any-
did. And one of my school friends said to me, he goes, "Man, have you been watching Star Trek: The Next Generation?" I'm like, "What the hell's that?" And he's like, "Oh man, it's been going on all year." And he's like, "Why aren't you watching it?" I'm like, "Yeah, Friday night comes along, I'm watching Perfect Strangers. Cousin Letty and Belky. Like."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, you idiot!" So I went back and watched it, and of course,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
of
I
course,
remember
TNG is
watching-
my favorite of
Yeah.
the series.
Mine too. I
Uh,
watched it because my dad used to watch the original series.
Yeah,
when he was
my
a kid.
my dad watched the original series too when it was first in syndication, and that's where I got put onto it in the mid '70s. I watch it with my dad. Watch the odd episode here with my dad, and yeah, I mean that's where the
Yep.
flame was lit, so to speak. And yeah. So as we go forward, we of course will continue to talk about Picard season 2. Hopefully, it continues on the high note that it started on.
yeah, started on a great
We'll
note.
talk about other aspects of Star Trek, especially we'll cover up the end of season 4 of Discovery. We'll go back and we'll do some talkabouts with the original series. I mean, there's any hardcore dyed in the wool Star Trek fan knows that there are 10 episodes from the original series which every Star Trek fan has to watch. And we'll go through that. We'll probably do an episode where we go through maybe 5 at a time or something like that. But the idea is that we will be back. We'll be back next week with another episode of Treknicity. And I just want to say thank you to anybody and everybody who took the hour now to watch this show.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to say let's do about 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Whoops.
thinking.
So again, thank you very much to everybody who has joined us this evening. Thank you again, Branda, for joining me on this trek.
Thanks for having me.
Did you just wink at me?
But
Yeah, exactly. This has been Treknicity. I'm Lars.
And I'm Brandon.
And like I always say, rock out, but you Spock out. Take care, folks.